Alrighty guys, as promised, in today's video we're going to be going over the brand new Dolce & Gabbana The One Eau de Parfum 2025. This is of course the updated version. Just a couple days ago I did a review on this, The One Parfum, which was amazing. This stuff might be one of the best releases of the year. Really, really good, very impressive, something we've been asking for a while. And that begs the question, they put two out at once here, and this is just being marketed as an updated packaging and an enhanced fragrance. I don't know if you can see it. This is the sleeve that came on the box of the new one here. So that's kind of what they're marketing as, and we're gonna see how does it compare to that original EDP. Really quickly, we'll take a look at the bottle because that's kind of a big change that some people like and some people don't like. So here's the new one. Here is the old one. So you can see there's a big difference. We lost the gradient. All that you're getting out of this is, in terms of looks here, it's all coming from the liquid itself, okay? So as you start to wear through this and that level goes down, you lose that look of the bottle. And just to keep things fair, here's a more full, the One EDP bottle, just to compare them side by side. You can see the difference. And then one more really quick, here's the One Eau de Toilette, okay? So you've got kind of that wood looking cap with that coloration. And then look at that, here's the new EDP. So you can tell that what they've done is they've tried to streamline it a little bit. They're trying to make this look more like that original, which, oh, I think I was holding that EDT backwards, doesn't matter. It kind of makes you wonder why. They look very similar now, and there's no like eau de parfum wording or lettering on the new one. So when they're side by side, and obviously there's a bottle size difference, this is 150 ml. Aside from the color and the slight difference in cap, you can't really tell, okay? You gotta look at the bottom where it says EDP, which is on a clear sticker that can be somewhat hard to read as well. So, hit or miss. Personally, I don't mind the look of this, although, I've always liked the look of this as well. Whatever, it is what it is. Let's get to the important part here, which is the smell. When you spray this one on, you're immediately hit with that familiar Dolce & Gabbana The One EDP smell, okay? What I've noticed is this one off the opening is actually just a little bit brighter. Not a ton, but you could say it's the tiniest bit more fresh when you first atomize it. And as far as the note breakdown, it stays pretty similar. They do list off orange, which I don't know if that was existing in the original. I know that the grapefruit was there, and you do get just a little bit of that brighter smell. It's almost like they've kind of taken, a fresher approach off the opening, similar to what Dolce & Gabbana The One EDT did, but then things do start to change a little bit as we get into the mid and dry down. One of the main things that I've noticed a difference in is a little bit more of an amber focus, believe it or not. And that kind of might sound like deja vu if you just watched my video recently on the new The One Parfum, where this has a very strong amber presence. That's kind of what this one is all about. It's at the center stage here. This one has a little bit more of an amber focus as well. Now, the tobacco is not non-existent. You still pick up on it. It's still there, just like in The One Parfum, right? But I do notice that I'm picking up on more of an amber, and it's more of the type of amber that I smell in the new The One Parfum. So that's kind of one of the main differences. You're still getting that tobacco. You're still getting that typical Dolce & Gabbana The One EDP smell, just with a little bit of a twist. They kind of say it's an updated or enhanced fragrance is what they call it. And whether you would prefer this over the smell of the Eau de Parfum, the original one, is going to be up to you to decide. For me personally, I've been wearing the One Eau de Parfum for years. It's been a signature scent of mine for evenings and stuff like that. Also, like I've mentioned a million times, it's been one that I often gravitate towards in the evenings, like when I get out of the shower. If we're not going out anywhere, we're just hanging out in the evening, sometimes I like to have something on, and that's something that I often reach for. It's kind of relatively soft, nice amber tobacco. It's not a beast mode scent, so it's not annoying when you're trying to go to bed later on. It actually just works perfect for that scenario. So I've always been wearing it, and I'm very familiar with that Eau de Parfum smell. So going into this one, you pick up on those small differences. And it begs the question, which one do I like better? And really, it's hard to say. I would say for a lot of people out there, the difference is going to be somewhat trivial, maybe somewhat indiscernible. Like you might be able to tell a little bit if you're really familiar with the DNA, but I would say for the average Joe, for the guy who hasn't worn as much of the stuff as I have and a lot of you guys have, they're probably not going to really tell a difference. Because I have gone through Dolce & Gabbana, the one EDP. I have a couple bottles I just showed. This bottle has a bit of a low level, but I have one that's down to here that I just don't really show because you can't see the liquid at all. It kind of takes away from the look of the bottle a little bit, but I've worn the crap out of the stuff. And I've got to say that I do really like the update. I like how it smells. I don't necessarily prefer it, but I do enjoy it. And I think that when it comes down to me reaching for Dolce & Gabbana, the one EDP, I would probably go back and forth between the two. The one Parfum is a different story. That's when I really want something rich and heavy and sweet and strong. But this one, you know, just in my normal evening, the one wearing, I would probably just pick either one, just kind of rotate between the two. Now we've got to get to the elephant in the room, and this is where I'm kind of disappointed and a little bit, you know, this is kind of actually a little bit misleading and bold. So I showed you that sleeve earlier, right? Enhanced fragrance and new packaging. They say back here, newly elevated packaging, if you could see it, but up front it says newly updated packaging. Now, you know, a lot of us might just rip the sleeve off and throw it away. But if I show you what it says over here, it's kind of interesting. I don't know if you could see that. Up to 16-hour wear with an asterisk. And then 97% agree it leaves a long-lasting trail. I don't know how often, if ever, I've seen a designer brand or a brand in general really, you know, list off like a longevity number. But I'm here to tell you right off the rip here, we're not getting anywhere close to 16 hours. So again, it's kind of a little bit misleading and just kind of not a good look that they did that, in my opinion. And for that little star, they said that's a clinical test for the longevity. And then for the second statement there, for the 97% agree, it's a self-evaluation test. So yeah, again, this is something that is a little bit surprising to me. And what does this one perform like? Well, it's not a whole lot stronger than that original Eau de Parfum. I would say that in terms of projection, that part kind of stays the same. EDP, it's still soft. It's not one that's going to push out. It's not one that's going to project far. It does leave a decent trail, for sure, but we're not getting really any strong projection out of this. Now, in terms of longevity, and I'm going to talk about usable longevity, like I said in the last review, like 7 hours, okay? And what I mean again by usable longevity is longevity to where it's not a completely dead skin scent, which, you know, you could have something that might last for 14 hours at that point, but that doesn't count, in my opinion. If nobody can smell it except for you when you bury your nose in it, that doesn't make any sense. That's no point. In terms of usable longevity, like 7 hours. So that's where you would still be able to smell it, or other people would still be able to smell it on you if they were somewhat close to you. Again, it's a very intimate scent. You got to get in pretty close. That's nothing new with the one. That's always been that way with the EDP and EDT. But that's kind of about where it's at. We're not getting 16. And I would imagine that 16-hour benchmark there is skin scent like 0 push out at all, which again, who cares about that really? It might just be slightly longer lasting than the regular Eau de Parfum, but not by a huge margin to where it's a game changer to me. I would normally be upset about that, right? Because if we finally got a Dolce & Gabbana, the one flanker that is being marketed as an improvement to the performance, and it's not, that would suck. However, it's hard for me to get upset when we have this bombshell of a release, the one Parfum, that actually does have really good performance and is just a much stronger, heavier, and richer scent all the way through. This one more than makes up for the lack of performance and the lack of excitement that the one EDP refresh has given us. So if it wasn't for this review would have probably been in a completely different attitude, because I'm telling you, the one parfum, this is the one to get right here. So that's kind of what we'll move on to now. Which one's better? It is without question the one parfum. Now there's a price difference. I think this retails for $190, $195. The new updated EDP retails for $145, okay? Neither one is cheap, and at some point they're both gonna hit discounters, and at that point you're gonna be in the clear as far as wanting to purchase it. Because I can't say for sure what it's gonna go for, but anything below retail is better than nothing, and I would imagine they're gonna hover around for a while, you know, $120, $110, $100, and I'm sure over time, as more time allows, that price will drop down below $100 at some point, possibly. And I think, honestly, once the one EDP, the refresh, hits discounters, and if it can get to be around the same price as, you know, like old the one EDP, this might be the better purchase, okay? And the reason why is not so much the performance, that's not what I'm focusing on, but in terms of the updated smell, I do like how it smells a lot. I like the added amber focus, and I'm telling you, it's perceivable. It's very noticeable to me anyway. I've got them side by side, old on my right hand, new on the left, and again, it's noticeable. That amber accord being a little bit stronger adds a bit more of an interesting character to the scent that was not there as much in the old version. So maybe in some way or another, I might like the updated smell a little bit more for that regard, but I've been wearing the old EDP so much that it's just hard to say. You know, I'm so used to that scent that it's hard to pick a favorite, really. But I would definitely not rush out and buy this new version here because it's being marketed as a 16-hour performer. That's just not the case. So I'm gonna wrap it up here, guys. The new, the one Eau de Parfum 2025, it smells nice. It's not like what they're trying to market it as, and once it hits discounters, it might not be a bad purchase. At retail, I probably wouldn't do it, but I will let everybody know when these do pop up on discounters. I'll send out an email, I'll put a post on my community tab, and all of that stuff. So make sure you guys are signed up to my mailing list. You're watching my community posts. I'm posting deals and, you know, new fragrances hitting discounters all the time. That's gonna do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.